All right, the good news, Michael Gallup will be back in practice this week, and we know depth's everything, right? And now you got Michael Gallup coming back into the fold, which will be good. I know Cedric Wilson been holding it down, right? But Michael Gallup is that high point catch radius guy that's not afraid to pull the ball inside. And then on top of that, Cowboy Nation, the guy that come across the middle, and he's that fade ball guy, especially when you're in the end zone, red zone, money zone, gold zone. So shout out to Michael Gallup. He will be back. Now, I'm not saying that he will play this weekend. We will see how everything unfolds, at least Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. We'll see where the Cowboys are located at with him. Now, 5 guys, 5 role players who have stepped up for this opportunity for this season. Number 1, shout out to this article that gave us this good information, Sports DFW. I really appreciate them. They had listed 5 guys, and in this 5 guys, in this article, number 1, J-Ron Curse. And I don't believe that it's a certain order, but J-Ron Curse stepped up big time for us. 6 pressures from a safety aspect on the quarterback. And they mixed him in so many packages, north of 13 blitzes. This is a guy that I can tell you that he established the mentality, he established the tenacity, and he's an impact player as it relates to the overall psyche of the Cowboys. I love it when I see him on the sidelines and he's amping up everybody. And when you go behind the scenes, whether it's offense or defense, you see J-Ron Curse in the mix. Hey, that goes a long way, and I'm quite sure that the culture that is being established by the head coach and, of course, Dan Quinn, this goes a long way. And everybody would like to play for a team that they feel accepted on, right? Now, his previous team, maybe, just maybe, he didn't have this type of feeling. But this team, boy, oh boy. Number 2, Cedric Wilson. We just talked about him. Big time city. I mean, we can go back and forth and talk about, what this team would look like without him, what this team would look like with a different wide receiver. But in big moments, he was able to step up. I remember that one game that he caught that pass and he spent on in there for the TD. I said, yeah. And the sideline catch. And one of the plays, even though it was spectacular, although he didn't get both feet down, it was just the ideology that DBs were looking at it like, man, this boy can play. And he's a weapon in the backfield because he can also throw the ball. But he's not just that. You can't just limit him to that. And I'm at the point that if you try to, even though they play him inside the slot there, and if you have your slot guy, and when they trying to stop the run and they move the slot guy, the nickel cornerback out, and they put in a bigger guy, when they go their big nickel formation, I'm talking about the opposing teams, or when they try to have that linebacker, that extra linebacker in there, Cedric Wilson, ooh, he gobbled him up. Shout out to Coach Bird, working with this guy all off season, and anybody that's in the Dallas area, when Coach Bird say, hey, nose the ball, come back toward the ball, I want my wide receivers to be aggressive, that goes a long way. And we see everything that Coach been teaching and preaching during the off season manifests itself into a great season. And by the way, that number 1, don't it look good? That look good. Number 3 on this list is Osa. Yeah, Osa Odigizua. I come here to tell you guys, undersized interior 3-tech. One could argue that he's really not undersized because he's the same size of Aaron Donald. I'm not saying that he is Aaron Donald. But amongst rookies, he's on the top of that list as it relates to creating pressure. See, he's a role player. Look, think about this. You had Tristan Hill in front of him. Of course, we know how that song and dance go. And on top of that, you had Navell Gallimore in front of him. Number 97 was not expecting to play this year, this many snaps like that, when you look at the total picture. But this guy got 19 pressures in 6 weeks. That is good from the interior. He's beating out guys that I know for sure people had that particular player high on their draft board, like a Kristen Barbour. I'm looking at the list. I believe Kristen Barbour, trying to go off the top of my head, had 13 pressures. And I'll post his list somewhere here, or it should be already posted. 13 pressures juxtaposed to Osa 19 and keeping it mean. So he's the guy that stepped up tremendously. Now, I'm not going to leave his name off the list, and he's not a role player, by the way. He was our first-round draft pick. He got 22 of them, Parsons, and that's a whole different animal. But for Osa to get some of that production as it relates to pressure goes a long way, Cowboy Nation. Goes a long way. So shout out to Osa. All right, number 4, and I don't think that this is a particular order. You got to pay homage to this guy. You got to also look at it like this right here. When his number is called, and regardless of where the coaching staff say we would like for you to be at, in these first 6 weeks, when he's given the opportunity, he performed. He's up there with the big boys. And this Connor, not Williams, but Connor McGovern. I had to look again. I said, wait a minute, they had a misprint. Then I looked at the stats. I had to pull them up for myself. Run protection, run block, basically. This guy is right at 90.3. There's only 2 other players that's higher than him that's on his team. That's Tyron Smith is right at 92. And that is also Zack Martin right at 93. Man, he's up there with those big boys. Don't y'all know how good that is? You can just run the rock with him in the backfield. That's why these boys are getting some yards. When they put number 66 in the mix, Connor McGovern, he do his thing. I think he's number 66, by the way. So I like what I'm seeing out of that. And on top of that, let's talk about this one. Let's get into the nitty gritty, because somebody going to say, yeah, Law, you can't leave him off the list. Come on, Cowboy Nation. Come on, the reporter, Reed Hanson. You can't leave this guy off the list. Reed Hanson is the guy that wrote this beautiful article, by the way, and I'll post his link somewhere in the description to this article. Number 5 is Terran Steel. He was ranked 30th amongst all offensive tackles last year, right? He was rated at the bottom, I believe, as relates to his production, giving up 9 sacks last year. Tons of pressure. But I come here to tell you guys, real, true, that this guy have not given up a sack. He have not allowed a sack in these last 5 games. And he's on top of everything. And that's Terran Steel, not reserve and not aluminum. You know, he didn't have a good preseason, by the way. But it's something about a player that when the real lights cut on, they wake up and they break up out of it and they become a new creature. And I'm not just talking about of habit. This is a monster out there now all of a sudden. He's saying to everyone, you put a finger on my quarterback, I'm going to throw you around like a rag dog. Oh, when it's time to block one of these guys for my running back, I'm sacrificing my life. And I'm playing all the way through the echoes of the whistle. He's all the way downfield, putting his hands on somebody's child. And I love it. On top of that, Cowboy Nation, he knows that his time is short, lived because La'el Collins is coming back. But La'el Collins got to look at this thing now and say, man, well done. You did a good job. You did a good job holding down my spot. Now I got to step it up. That's why La'el Collins was probably trying to say, okay, I'm trying to recoup this money, but I'm trying to get back out there on the field. Let me try to sue the NFL, all right? Because he know what he was able to say. Like, that's my spot. And anybody with any competitive edge, they know. They don't like to be watching. They like to be playing. So shout out to Terrance Steele and shout out to La'el Collins, because He's back in it. They say he's locked, loaded, and ready. They say he's ready. So time would tell it all. It would tell it all. So when we look at this list, the 5 guys, I got to give honorable mentions to Chauncey Golston. He stepped up big time when his number was called. He just didn't have the gaudy numbers that the other guys are doing now. And I'm not going to call him a role guy. I'm talking about Anthony Brown. He's a starter and was already presented to be such, right? But he's stepping up. He got good metrics and numbers and these sorts of things, and been solid. Had a horrible game 1, and as Antonio Brown versus Anthony Brown, one can argue and say, man, that was already given. and the harder we are on Anthony Brown, it seems like the better he plays, right? The more praises we give him, it seems like the worse he plays. So y'all continue to be hard on Anthony Get Down Brown, right? Or I Get Burnt Brown. Y'all still be hard on him. Let's not let up off of him. We don't want him to be comfortable, right? He's playing beyond his contract, and we like seeing that, right? I want to know your 5 guys. I know I took all of the guys from this article. I went first with the video, so somebody else go with another video, or you just post down below who's your 5 guys that stood up in the test of times. Those 5 role players who stepped up and said, I'm ready for war. I'm ready for action. And I tell you what, who are your 3 disappointed guys? Like Maurice Candidate, he's one of the guys I was like, come on, man. When time was permitted, we wanted to see something out of you. We didn't get a chance to see that big impactful situation. Jordan Lewis, he's been solid, but I got to get a little bit more out of you, Jordan Lewis. You my dog, but I got to get a little bit more. And Tyler Biadasz, I just thought that he would present something a little bit more to the table. Those are my 3 guys that we want to see a little bit more. And Maurice Candidate, I'm only saying him because he had a hell of a training camp, right? And when he was given the opportunity, we were still looking for Maurice Candidate to make a play, to help us forget about other players that's on this team. But he didn't step up. And then, of course, Tyler Biadasz. I really want to see him excel, but we will see down the line. It's still too soon, right, for him. Still early, still wet behind the ear. And he has some mighty big shoes to fill in Dallas land, right? So, and of course, that role is always a pivotal role, playing center. It's not easy. One of the hardest positions to learn in the National Football League. So those were the 5 role guys that stepped up and showed us something. So Cowboy Nation, post me your thoughts, post me your concerns down below. That's been my time. I really thank you all for yours. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Go Cowboys. Let's go. We out. Peace.